Greetings, fellow time travelers. Welcome back to Historia, where we uncover the hidden mysteries of lost civilizations and dive deep into the secrets that shaped our world. I'm your archaeological guide, ready to take you on another mind-bending journey through the corridors of time. Today, we're about to unlock one of history's most captivating mysteries, the divine realm of ancient Egypt. Imagine gods who could transform into animals, goddesses whose rage could destroy humanity, and an afterlife so complex it required a guidebook just to survive it. But here's what will absolutely blow your mind. These weren't just stories. They were the foundation of a civilization that lasted over 3,000 years. Before we unveil these incredible secrets, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss the ancient mysteries we're about to reveal. Now let's travel back 5,000 years to the banks of the Nile River, where gods walked among mortals and magic was very, very real. Picture this scene with me. At the beginning of time, there was nothing but endless darkness. No earth, no sky, no life, just the primeval waters of chaos called none. But then, something extraordinary happened that would change the universe forever. From these chaotic waters, a brilliant light emerged, the sun god Atum. And here's where it gets fascinating. Atum created himself through sheer will. He rose from the waters and literally spoke creation into existence. But the mystery that baffled ancient scholars was this: how did one god become many? Pay attention to this incredible process. Atum created the first divine pair, Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture. These two gods then had children of their own, Geb, the earth itself, and Nut, the vast sky above. Can you imagine? The earth and sky were siblings in Egyptian mythology. But the divine family didn't stop there. Geb and Nut had 4 remarkable children, Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys. Together with their ancestors, they formed the Ennead, the 9 primeval gods who shaped the Egyptian cosmos. This wasn't just a family tree, it was the blueprint of the entire universe. What we're witnessing here is one of humanity's earliest attempts to explain existence itself. The ancient Egyptians looked at their world and asked the ultimate question: where did everything come from? Their answer was both poetic and profound. Creation emerged from chaos through divine will and family bonds. Now let's dive into one of the most dramatic and heartbreaking stories in all of ancient mythology, a tale of betrayal, love, and the birth of death itself. Osiris and his sister wife Isis ruled over Egypt in what ancient texts call the Golden Age, a time of unprecedented peace and prosperity. The Nile flooded perfectly every year, crops grew abundantly, and the people lived in harmony. But here's the dark twist that changed everything. Their brother Seth was consumed by jealousy. Seth desired the throne for himself, and what he did next shocked even the other gods. He murdered Osiris, and pay close attention to this gruesome detail. He dismembered his brother's body into 14 pieces and scattered them across the entire land of Egypt. Why 14 pieces? This mystery still puzzles historians today. But here's where the story becomes truly remarkable. Isis, devastated but determined, embarked on an epic quest. She searched the length and breadth of Egypt, collecting every piece of her husband's body. With the help of her sister Nephthys, the wisdom god Thoth, and the funeral god Anubis, she performed something that had never been done before. Are you ready for this? Isis used her powerful magic to reconstruct Osiris's body, creating the very first mummy in history. Through her enchantments, she brought him back to life long enough for a miraculous conception. She became pregnant with their son, Horus. But Osiris was too weak to remain in the world of the living. Instead, he journeyed to the Duat, the mysterious land of the dead, where he became its eternal ruler. Meanwhile, the villainous Seth seized the throne, forcing Isis to flee and raise her son in hiding. What happened next would determine the fate of Egypt itself. Isis raised Horus in secret until he became a powerful adult warrior, ready to challenge his uncle for the throne. The battle between Horus and Seth was legendary, violent, brutal, and absolutely epic. But here's the fascinating part. Eventually, the case was settled not through more violence, but through a divine legal trial. The gods assembled as judges, with Geb, the earth god himself, presiding over the court. After hearing both sides, Geb ruled in favor of Horus, declaring him the rightful king of Egypt. This wasn't just a mythological story. It established the fundamental principle of Egyptian kingship. Every pharaoh who ever ruled Egypt claimed to be a descendant of Horus, and it was this divine ancestry that gave them the right to rule. Now, fellow explorers, we're about to meet perhaps the most powerful and mysterious god in the entire Egyptian pantheon, a deity so influential that he almost became the only god of Egypt. His name was Amun, which literally means the hidden one. And here's what makes him absolutely fascinating. Unlike other gods who represented just one aspect of the world, like the sky, the earth, or the sun, Amun was a universal god with links to all parts of the cosmos. He was thought to be the invisible force behind everything, even creation itself.
But the most important transformation in Egyptian religious history happened when Amun merged with the sun god Ra, combining to become Amun-Ra. This wasn't just a name change, it was a religious revolution. In this combined form, Amun-Ra became linked with the sun, which was absolutely essential to Egyptian life. Think about it. In the desert, the sun meant everything: life, death, seasons, time itself. As Amun-Ra, this deity rose to become Egypt's chief god and king of all the gods. His temple at Karnak became the wealthiest and most powerful religious institution in ancient Egypt. And here's something that will amaze you. Amun became so widely worshipped that he came close to turning Egyptian religion into monotheism. The other gods were increasingly seen as merely aspects or manifestations of Amun's great power. Recent archaeological discoveries at Karnak have revealed just how massive his cult became. The temple complex covers over 200 acres. That's about 100 football fields. The priests of Amun controlled vast wealth, owned huge tracts of land, and wielded political power that rivaled even the pharaohs themselves.
Ancient seekers, prepare yourselves for one of the most fascinating aspects of Egyptian civilization, their elaborate and complex vision of the afterlife. This wasn't just religious belief. It shaped their entire culture, from the pyramids to the Valley of the Kings.
Osiris, as judge of the dead and king of the underworld, became one of the most respected gods in ancient Egypt. But here's what made the Egyptian afterlife truly unique. Death wasn't the end, it was a journey. And this journey was, well, fraught with danger, challenges and tests that would determine your eternal fate.
When a person died, their soul, which the Egyptians believed had multiple parts, began a perilous voyage through the Duat, the underworld. Picture this terrifying landscape: dark corridors filled with demons, lakes of fire, and monstrous serpents ready to devour unworthy souls.
But if you knew the right spells and had the proper magical protection, you could navigate these dangers. The elaborate tombs and burial rituals we find throughout ancient Egypt were all designed to help the deceased on this journey. Pharaohs and wealthy nobles could afford more elaborate preparations: golden amulets, magical texts inscribed on tomb walls, and treasures to bribe or appease dangerous entities.
But here's something remarkable. It was entirely possible for even average Egyptians to reach paradise if they lived righteously.
Now let's talk about the most dramatic moment of this entire journey, the weighing of the heart ceremony. After avoiding all the monsters and demons, the soul would arrive at the Hall of Mot, the goddess of truth and justice. Are you ready for this? The soul had to stand before 42 divine judges, and proclaim its innocence of a specific sin to each one. I have not killed. I have not stolen. I have not caused pain. The soul would declare one by one its purity from each possible crime.
But the gods weren't just going to take your word for it. Here's the moment of ultimate truth. The gods Anubis and Thoth would take the deceased's heart and place it on a golden scale. On the other side, a single ostrich feather, the feather of Mot, representing absolute truth and justice.
Now pay very close attention to this. The Egyptians believed your heart held the record of everything you'd ever done, every lie you'd told, every kindness you'd shown. If you lived a good life, your heart would be light and pure. It would rise above the feather, and Osiris would grant you passage into the field of reeds, the Egyptian paradise. But if your heart was heavy with sin, a monster named Amit, part crocodile, part lion, part hippopotamus, would devour your heart, erasing your soul from existence forever. No second chances, no appeals, just eternal oblivion.
This belief system had a profound effect on Egyptian society. People strived to live ethically, not just because it was right, but because they believed they would literally be judged for every action after death. Fellow time travelers, let me introduce you to Egypt's most beloved and powerful goddess, Isis. Her worship was so intense and widespread that it eventually spread beyond Egypt to the entire Roman Empire. But what made her so special?
As the mother of Horus, the god of kingship, I was considered the divine mother of every pharaoh. Each king believed he was under my personal protection.
But it wasn't just her royal connections that made her popular. It was her incredible magical power. Isis was invoked by ordinary people for healing, protection, and help with everyday problems. Mothers prayed to her during childbirth, farmers asked for her blessing on crops, and sailors called upon her during storms. She was seen as a protective deity who genuinely cared about humanity.
But here's an amazing story that demonstrates just how powerful I was. According to one ancient text, I even challenged the mighty sun god Ra himself. Are you ready for this tale? Ra was growing old, and his power was beginning to fade. I, always clever and ambitious, wanted to increase my own magical abilities. So I devised an audacious plan. I collected some of Ra's saliva, yes, really, mixed it with earth, and created a magical serpent. I placed this serpent in Ra's path, and when it bit him, the sun god fell deathly ill. None of the other gods could heal him.
Ra was in agony, and finally, in desperation, he called upon Isis.
I agreed to heal him, but only if he revealed his true name to me, his secret name that contained the essence of his power. Ra resisted at first, knowing that whoever possessed his true name would have power over him. But the pain was too great. Finally, Ra whispered his secret name to me, and I immediately used it to heal him. But now, I possessed knowledge that made me one of the most powerful deities in the pantheon.
This story wasn't just entertainment. It demonstrated that wisdom and cunning could triumph even over raw divine power. Ancient mystery hunters, now we're going to explore one of the most important concepts in Egyptian religion, the daily journey of the sun god Ra. This wasn't just mythology, it was the Egyptian explanation for day and night, and it involved a cosmic battle that happened every single night.
The Egyptians believed that Ra's body was the sun itself. Each morning, he began his journey as Khepri, the scarab beetle god who pushed the solar disk from the horizon into the sky, just like scarab beetles roll balls of mud across the ground.
During the day, Ra sailed across the sky in his magnificent solar boat, accompanied by an entourage of protective gods. This was Ra at his most powerful, representing the midday sun at its brightest. But what happened at sunset? Here's where it gets really dramatic. At nightfall, Ra entered the underworld on his evening boat. The god Atum represented this setting sun. But the night journey wasn't peaceful. Far from it.
Every single night, Ra had to face his eternal enemy. Pay attention to this terrifying creature, Apophis, the giant chaos serpent. This wasn't an ordinary snake. Apophis was the embodiment of chaos itself, constantly trying to destroy creation and return the universe to the primeval waters of nothingness.
As Ra's boat sailed through the 12 hours of night, Apophis would rise from the depths of the underworld and attack. The serpent had a terrifying ability. It could hypnotize all the gods with its gaze, even Ra himself. Imagine that. The most powerful god in Egypt, frozen and helpless before this monster.
But here's the twist. Remember Seth, the god of chaos and destruction? The villain who murdered Osiris? Well, Seth had one crucial role that made him indispensable to the gods. His chaotic nature made him immune to Apophis's hypnotic power. Every night, Seth would stand at the prow of Ra's boat with his spear, and when Apophis attacked, Seth would stab the serpent, driving it back into the depths.
This is why the Egyptians had such a complex relationship with Seth. Yes, he was the god of violence and disorder, but he was also the only one who could protect creation from total annihilation. Each dawn, after surviving the night's battle, Ra would be reborn as Khepri and begin the cycle again. This eternal pattern gave the Egyptians hope. No matter how dark the night, the sun would always return. Now, fellow explorers, let's uncover one of the most fascinating and fearsome aspects of Egyptian mythology, the eyes of Ra. These weren't literal eyes, but rather manifestations of the sun god's power in the form of warrior goddesses.
These goddesses were among the most powerful deities in the entire pantheon, and they were often depicted as lionesses, the ultimate symbol of strength and ferocity in ancient Egypt.
Let me tell you about the most famous of these divine warriors. First, meet Sekhmet, the daughter of Ra and the most terrifying goddess you could ever encounter. She was known as the Powerful One, and ancient texts say she could breathe fire.
The hot desert winds that could kill travelers were called the breath of Sekhmet.
But here's an absolutely mind-blowing story about Sekhmet's power. When Ra grew old and tired of ruling Earth, his human subjects began